Welcome to APCUG's Wednesday workshops, where we get together in the middle of the week to learn more about technology. During October and before and after in a number of our presentations on security, a number of times people mentioned the need for password managers in order to secure your passwords and your privacy. Today, we're going to have a presentation on password management and focusing on one of the ones that many of us feel is one of the best. And our presenter today is going to share information about password managing and specifically with Bitwarden. No introductions needed. So I will write to the sharing and get started. Love that bit with the virtual desktops to switch right away. We're going to talk about online password management as opposed to offline, and it's going to be focusing with Bitwarden. And this is the presentation for the slideshow for Wednesday workshop. Most people know who I am. I'm Free John. Most of the stuff I do is free, but not all of it. From East Central Ohio Technology Users Club and a member of the Speakers Bureau for APCUG. And this workshop is a benefit of your group's membership to APCUG, and renewal for those memberships take place next month. So make sure you check with your treasurer. So what about passwords? I can remember back when we all started with the computer, I probably only needed 1 or 2 passwords. The password to get into my computer. And I remembered back in the early days of the internet, I had a password to get on my school district's internet service that I was allowed to learn about at night and weekends when the treasurer wasn't going to use it. But over time, everywhere you go, somebody wants passwords, wants a password. So what's the problem? Well, at our age, there's too many to remember. Now, everyone, I finally came across this when we talk about you need a, whoops, changing the, allowing the user to come in, made that go back. We've talked about you need a password manager. Well, honestly, everybody manages their passwords in one way or another. But the question becomes, is it the best way to manage it? Yeah, right. Yeah, maybe not so. Sticky notes, notebooks, address books, phone books, recipe books. So do you really need one? Yeah. Why? Well, we've learned that a single password is not going to make it nowadays, because once it gets found out, hackers have access to anything that you might have under a password protection. Making a password something easy to remember is not going to make it either. Sticking passwords on sticky notes, well, that's good until the sticky notes stop sticking and they fall and they get lost and then you can't find them. Notebooks. I started out with an old phone book, alphabetical, and started filling it up. but I've got pages that are starting to fall out. I haven't used it for a long time, but it could be lost. It could go somewhere. Those management tools aren't necessary. You need one because if your password is not unique or strong, it's about as secure as the guy who locks their convertible with the top down. If you look closely, you can see, yep, the doors are locked. A lot of good that's going to do with the top down. What you want is a management system that's easy to use and does the work for you. Sort of like a set it and then forget it. And there are many passwords that I think I am forgetting because I never need to remember them. So Bitwarden is one of the online password managers or management systems. And it has a lot of tremendous features, including the ones you see here, especially open source. Again, like with other things, there is no knowledge. Everything is encrypted. What I like about Bitwarden over a couple of others, you can use it on unlimited devices, and you can have an unlimited list of passwords. And it works across all different kind of devices. It even can work doing your passkey management. You can secure notes, credit cards, and anything dealing with your identity, which is great if you're traveling because it's encrypted, so nobody sees all the stuff, but if you end up needing it, you've got it. With Bitwarden, you can even share with one other person so that they have access. And they also have a program where they can send encrypted stuff. Bitwarden, as a password manager, can also create usernames. It's been fun when I've talked with somebody about setting up something. I said, okay, now you need to have a username. And they're just trying for crazy. What do I pick? What do I pick for a username? Well, Bitwarden's generator will help you pick a username and a password. There's email alias integration so that you can kind of hide your email. They include advanced two-step logging, encrypted exports, and the three things that I put at the top of the list of my reasons for Bitwarden is the end-to-end encryption. It's open source, and if you've ever been with our workshops and heard me talk, you know that that's key. Open source, and it is free, cross-platform, and global. When you're on the slideshow stack, you can click this and get right to the website. We'll go if we need to. So getting started with Bitwarden is super, super simple. You go to their website, and up in the top corner, it says Get Started. You click that, and you're going to set up your account. And here's one of the best things about Bitwarden is that they don't ask for any of your information, except you have to create and put in an email address that you're going to use, because that's how you log in. You don't even have to give them a name, but the name shows up, you know, on your stuff when you go to your account. It'll have your name, but you don't have to do that. What you have to do is create a very unique master password that you will have to remember. Because if you forget it, they don't know it, so you're done. And they'll even tell you how good it is with that bar. And if you want to give yourself a hint in case you're going to forget it, that's what you're able to do. But I try to point this out because a lot of people think, well, they want all your information. They just need an email address for your login and you to create a password. Once you do that, you have an account set up. And so what you want to do next is you need to download. And one of the things that I like about Bitwarden is that you can do it any way you want. It can be a desktop app. It can be a browser extension. It works on your phone. And anywhere in the world, you can go to Bitwarden through the internet and have access to everything. With the desktop applications, I like it because I'm a fan of cross-platform. So Windows, Mac, and my good old Linux has support for, or they support all of them. With the web browser extension, they have the 9 most popular browsers up there that they'll work with. And if you want a mobile, you can download from either the Apple Store or the Google Play Store and have your Bitwarden on your phone for accessing passwords and other information. With the Bitwarden, you have all the versions work the same. It's just the way it looks on the screen, but they're all the same. And here's the things that you can create. It's not just a manager for your login passwords, but I can put in my cards. So if I was ever traveling and I lost my cards, I have all the information I need, the number to call, the account number, who it's with, and all that. You can also set up your identities for information with social security numbers, passports, if you do that, because nothing's worse than being overseas and you lose your passport. With this, you can access and find out what that number is, and that'll help you. Plus, you can create secure notes that are encrypted up in Bitwarden for any kind of information you want. This is what the client looks like, the downloaded client. And you can see on the left-hand side, there are the different types of things you can do. If we look at the web-based one, very similar. You can choose which kind of item you're doing. And this is the one from the extension. And I do most of my stuff in the extension. I'll explain why later. But it's right there, and the same thing. The only difference is because of limited space, there's a drop-down menu at the top for you to pick what you want to, which kind of entry you want to do. In my description, I said this was going to be a presentation about the password manager Bitwarden, and I said backwards. Because after I've done this a couple of years ago, I've now realized, well, there's some people who are current users of password managers, and they know how good they are. I want them to know how good Bitwarden is. So I'm going to start out first with the easiest part, and the shortest part is to tell people who are users of other password managers how easy it is to fire up Bitwarden. And I'll keep emphasizing the fact that it's free, so there's no reason why somebody can't get it to try it out. The process is two-step. All you do is go into your current password manager and export all of your stuff out. And Bitwarden will accept huge amounts of managers and file formats. These are just the ones that I could list in this space out here, but there are, I think, a total of like 50 different kinds of password managers and their files that it will import. And again, when you have the slideshow, you can just click that and go to the website, which we might look at later if we have time. So this is to show you how easy it is. I used to be a LastPass person a number of years ago, but the process for me to migrate to Bitwarden was just this simple. Somewhere you find in your program advanced options or settings or something. They'll explain it to you at Bitwarden's website, here's exactly what you do. So for LastPass, you go to Advanced Options and you pull up Export. And then when you export, it just says, you know, select the file type that you want to export and where do you want to export it to. That's simple. When you move over to Password Manager, you go into their tools and import. You can also see you can export it too, but you go to import, it goes into My Vault, because what can happen with Bitwarden, you can set up Bitwarden to work with another organization. And so My Vault would be having all of my passwords and stuff, and maybe your organization such as APCUG or something would have passwords, and you would have then a second vault that would be that company's vault. But for the most part, you keep everything in your vault. You could select a folder if you wanted to put all of the stuff into a folder. I'm not quite sure why. I don't. And then you select the format that you're importing in, and that was determined by which kind you had to export. You choose the file, wherever you saved it, and then you hit import. And just like that, you close down Bitwarden, open it back up, there's everything. And that's how easy it was when I switched over from LastPass to Bitwarden. I think that there were a couple of names I'll talk about later that got messed up in the transfer, maybe because of some limitations of Bitwarden or something about the export. But that's how easy it was. Go to your current password manager, export your file out, go to Bitwarden, import it back in, and then you're ready to use it. And you already know how to use your current password manager, so there's no real instructions to you about how. You'll see it as I instruct others, but that easy. No reason. It's free. Now, let's talk about users who manage their passwords on sheets of paper, on sticky notes, or whatever. You just don't have an online manager. This is for you to show you how easy this is to build up a password manager, and we're going to do it with Bitwarden. Now, this is just a quick outline, and again, it's a few simple steps that you have to do anyway, and then your password manager assists you. Go to your website that you want to log into. Take that sheet of paper or that sticky note or whatever, enter your username and password like you always do, but right after you do that, Bitwarden pops up and says, hey, do you want me to save these credentials? And all you do is click save, and it's done. The next time you come there, you can use your password manager. So all you do is what you would have to be doing anyway. Go to another website, log in like you usually do, but then pop up comes the message from Bitwarden, do you want me to save these credentials? And you just say save, and it will tell you that it's saved. So here's an example. I'm logging into Zoom 2, which is this Zoom account that we're on now, and I put in my username, excuse me, put in my password, and boom, up jumped Bitwarden and said, hey, should Bitwarden remember this password? And all I do is hit save. And it's in there. It's all set. Now, it said, oh, by the way, you didn't unlock Bitwarden. See, you can see right here that there's a lock on my Bitwarden icon. So it will say, put in your master password. And that's the only password that I really have to remember. And then you put that in. If you know you're going to be doing a lot of work with logging in stuff, log into password or Bitwarden first, and then this will you won't have the extra step. Once you log in, then the next pop-up, and I could not screenshot it because it goes too fast when try to do a screen capture. It'll say saved. Now, I will say that with Bitwarden, you might have to go in and tweak what it saved for the name of this entry. Because sometimes, as you're going to see, if there's no actual name with it, it might pull up a web address or something. And here's an example for something I had a long time ago with our club. When I set up and typed in my name, username, password, it saved a name. And you can see if you compare it to the URL at the bottom, it just gave it the name. And I'm going, well, that, excuse me, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me when I see that gobbledygook. So all I did was I changed the name to something that made sense to me. You keep the same username, password, you keep the same URL, but now, okay, this is the digital imaging SIG's help desk access, and it was to Shutterfly just by chance. So that's how simple. And you don't have to do that all the time. Sometimes it'll give a name that's close to what you want, or you change it. For example, all of my Zoom, I have a number of different Zoom accounts because my role with APCUG is I'm in charge of Zoom. And so we have Zoom access codes, we have Zoom email accounts. So I changed the name to make them so they all kind of stick together and make it easy to find. So all you do, put your email address in, put your username. Sometimes it's a name, sometimes an address. Your password. Bitwarden says, do you want me to remember this? You hit save and you are done. That's how easy it is. You're going to go and log into your accounts anyway. So all you do is log in and then let Bitwarden build your password manager one login at a time. Now, there's two ways to use Bitwarden: as a password manager, but also as a bookmark manager. I used to use a bookmark manager years ago. We all did, well, a lot of us did. When I found out what I can do with my password manager with Bitwarden, I no longer use a bookmark manager. Basically, it's a copy-paste process. You copy and your password or username, paste it, copy, paste. And you can use any version that you want, whether it's the client, the extension, or the web. My personal choice is the web extension because you're going to have to wait and find out later. Excuse me. So basically, we're going to do a copy and paste with the client, the mobile, and the website. So here I've opened up the website, and the reason I do the website is because you can see it bigger. It's a lot bigger than what the client window pops up and what the extension pops up. So I use the web access because it's nice and big for your viewing. When you click on the site that you want, you'll notice three very important options. One is called launch. So if I go to my password manager, go to where I want to go, click on launch, that's the exact same thing that a bookmark would do. It'll take me right to the website. Then I will use my copy the username over to the website I'm trying to get in, then come back, copy the password, then come back. Excuse me 1 second, I gotta let somebody in. Oh good, it didn't kick me back. So I stopped using a bookmark manager because most of the places that I go require a login, and if not, I can make a few bookmarks in my browser, or just do a search for where I'm trying to go. But it's that that easy. Excuse me. In the extension version, when you click on your Bitwarden, you can either go to all your vaults and see everything listed. I started using search. I decided I'm making computers do the work. So you can see at the top, I started typing in speed, and it came up with the two thing I had: Speedway, gas login, and speed test. But you'll see the same three icons. The one with the square with the arrow, that will launch me right to that website. The person will copy my password or my username, and then I just go to the website, paste it in, come back here, copy the password, and go back and pass it in. If I click on the entry, and for this thing I clicked on the speed test one, all it does is expand it out so you can see what your username is. You can't see the password, it's hidden, and where the website's going. So those three buttons there, the launch, the copy, and copy, are the same as what you see on the front. Sometimes you just need to check to see where you're going, or maybe you want to know what the login is. So copy, paste, copy, paste. If you did the client version, which would pop up on your window top because it's a client, you do the same thing. You go to it, copy, paste, copy, paste. But here's why I use the extension. The extension allows for auto-filling, either through the browser extension or right now in the field. My recommended choice, because I don't have to go copy, paste, back and forth, back and forth. Here's the example. I went to the speed test web page for the login, and up at the very top, if you look up at the top of the browser, you will see that Bitwarden says, hey, you've got one entry that matches this website. And so when you click on it, this is what drops down. There's those same three icons over the side to copy paste. You don't have the one for launch because Bitwarden's smart enough to know you're already on the website. We don't need to launch it. But if I just left click on this area, it will fill it in for me. No copy, paste, copy, paste. Ideal. And even now, it has improved that up at the top there, it tells me you've got one entry. Excuse me a second. But now, Bitwarden has a feature that pops up right here in the field box that you can click the icon and it drops what you have. Now, most people only have, usually the one. But like I said, with my Gmail, I have a whole bunch that drop through because of the APCUG stuff. But normally it's just the one. So you just click on that and it fills it in. Now, one thing that is a difference with this, the website will control how easy this is for you. If the website has both fields for username and password, it'll fill them in both at the same time. Gmail doesn't work that way. Gmail, you have to log in with your username, then go to the next screen and log in with your password. So for Gmail, I have to do this click twice, but I don't have to copy, paste, just click it. But if the web page that you are on has both, it gets filled in automatically. It's that easy. So now for the people who are building up their password manager, after they filled in that first one, if they come back to that website, that now they'll have the icon pop up and say you've got something, and they just click and fill it in. And then each time they go to a new one, it will, and you log in, it will bring up the message that says you want to save it, and then you add it to the manager, and over time, you've got it all. But that's how easy it is, especially if you use the extension and you go to the site, you just click. Another example, oh, I jumped ahead. Here's the Gmail. I had to do it twice. I had to go first and fill in my login, and now I've got to click and fill in my password. But that's Gmail's designed to have those two fields on two separate screens. Most of what I do, everything is one screen, and you fill in all at the same time. Now, I mentioned that you can do this as you go. And each time you go to a new website, your password manager will fill in and add it. But you can decide, it's like right now, my wife said that when she came home, the sky turned gray and wind, and it's doing kind of a mix of rain and snow showers here in Ohio. This is a yucky day, kind of day you want to sit down and do something. So you can fill in these entries yourself if you've got some spare time that you want to do. Now, what you have to decide is one of the things, whether you want to organize your entries in folders or straight ABC. I used to be a folders person. I created folders, and that was evident on that earlier screen where you saw that. Somebody like Judy, she's an ABC person. And so she puts them all in an alphabetic order, not in folders, but she can find out what she wants by going alphabetically down the list. So you have that choice of whether you want to do folders or straight. Now, when you go into your filter or your form, first off, you select which type you're doing. And of course, we're doing logins right now. And you can see down at the bottom, there's a little plus for folders. And I created one for what I called presentation night. I did this slideshow for a group that I did a nighttime presentation. And you can have no folders, and everything just goes into the no folder, all alphabetically. So you can create that. Up at the top right-hand corner, there's the important thing that says, I'm going to add some more myself. So you click the add button. Oh, not yet. You click the extension, and you have the same thing. You have your vault, and then the difference is it shows you the different kind of cards that you can choose types. And then up at the top, you got a plus that says, okay, I want to add something. The information that you're going to be adding is a name for this entry, because for me, if I've got 8 or 10 different Gmail, they can't all say Gmail. So you give it a special name. You give it username, password, and you give the URL that you're going to go to. If you're a folder person, you would add the folder. So here is what the screen looks like, and here's how easy you do. At the top, we said this is going to be a login. The name is only for you, so make it make sense to you. And I've had to change things because your password manager, whichever, will give you the name if you don't, and sometimes it's strange. Third step, username. Fourth step, put in your password. Fifth step, put in your email address, the URL. And what I usually do is I just copy and paste it so I don't make a mistake. You notice I skipped over the authenticator key, TOTP. We've heard about that in past presentations. That's a feature for the paid version. If you don't have a password for this login, you can ask Bitwarden to create one for you, and we'll talk more about the passwords in a short bit. But that's all you do. You put the name that you want it to be in the listing, your username, password, the address that you're going to go to, and then you have a place for notes. You can put notes in if you need to for something, and I'll show you how you use that notes for something else special. In the extension one that I use, it's the same thing. You just pick which type of entry you're doing, but you do the same thing. Give it a name, put in the username, put in the password. And notice if it's something you're confused with about, I don't know what new username to use, you can have Bitwarden create usernames. And again, you can ask it to give a password. And then down at the bottom, you put in the web address. And again, I always just copy paste so I don't make a mistake. And that's how simple it is to do. Just enter those three things. And like I said, you don't have to do this because when you go to a website, and the first time, it's going to say, do you want me to fill it in for you? Now, I also wanted to show you that another type of entry that you could keep in your password manager, and I recommend that you do, would be your different kind of cards that you have, because this is valuable if you're away. This one, you would do the same kinds of things. You would give the name of what this entry is, whether it's a bank card, a banking account, whatever. If you have a folder to put it in, I might put all my banking things in a folder. The cardholder name, so you know who it is, which kind of card it is, your card number, your expiration date, and then the security code. Then in the notes, what I would recommend you do is you put in the telephone number of both the fraud unit for that card and maybe the customer support number. So you have those if you had any kind of problem. And you can add whatever kind of card you want. I didn't show, but the identity one is you can put your personal information in, which includes your social security number, your passport number, and some other things if you want to keep that secure. In the extension, just as easy, change it. I want to make a card, put the name, the card number, the card holder name, the number, the brand, the expiration year, and then the security code, and save it. Now, let's talk about switching to more secure passwords, because most of us will have to admit that many of our passwords are not that secure. And we've talked in other workshops about the need for more secure passwords. So I have a whole bunch that were not so secure that I created back in my days before password managing, and really back before the days we really even worried about it. I didn't have one password, but I had a coding system that I made up. But with Password Manager and Bitwarden in particular, they can generate the passwords and passphrases for you. And they have key settings for making it as secure as you want. So if we go to the tools in Bitwarden, and again, this is the web version, so you can see it nice and big. You say, I want to create a password. They create one already. The minute you open up Password Manager or the generator, it's there. But now you can go through and say things like, I want it to be a password, not a username. I want it to be a password, not a passphrase. Now, how long do you want it? Well, we've talked about the longer the better. How long you make it is up to you. Then you have options. Do you want capital letters, lowercase letters, numbers, symbols? We've all talked about a variety of that. We also have the option in Bitwarden to say, I don't want any of these ambiguous characters. Do not use zeros and O's. Do not use L's and ones, because half the time we're wondering, is that or is it? Then if you do select numbers, what's the minimum number of numbers that you want? Or if you added special characters, what's the minimum number of special characters? So you can see up at the top, there are, in blue, 3 numbers. The minimum was 2. They gave me 3. I said I wanted 1 special. They gave me 2. Now, if you look at that and you'll say, I don't like that one. All you do is hit the generate password and it'll come up with a new one. And you can keep hitting that until you find one. Okay, that's one I like. Then you can click copy. and paste it wherever you need to paste it. With the generator, you can also generate passphrases. People are saying now that passphrases may be better to use than passwords. So again, I can choose how many words I want. The more words you select, the harder it is to crack. I can decide what kind of a separator I want. Do I want dashes before it, underscores before it? There's a list of what you can use. And then the options includes, do you want to throw in capital letters and numbers? And I did that so you can see there's capital letters, there's a number in there. And again, if what they created you didn't like, hit that regenerate, keep hitting it until you say, all right, that one looks like something that's going to be really hard to break. I won't remember it, but I'm going to copy it and then put it somewhere. Same thing for the drop-down extension programs. It's just all in a tight-lit space, and you have to scroll down. You can see on here that there's a scroll bar. So everything that you saw on the others is still down below there. So you can do all that changing for both of those. So if you need good, solid passwords for something new, they'll do it for you. Now, what do you do about changing those bad passwords that are already out there to make them more secure? This is a little bit of a more step process, and the password manager sometimes doesn't have total control. The website that you're going to may determine what you do. But basically, you're going to go to the website that you've already have a password that's not very good, and you want to change it. You're going to log into it. Then you've got to find where it says change password. Somewhere in the account settings or tools or something. You have to find it because they're all a little bit different. Once you find where you can change the password, the first thing you're going to do is go back to Bitwarden or your password manager, and you're going to copy your old one into the notes area. Because we all know with technology, internet, everything, things don't always work right. And if you would change the password in Bitwarden and then go to change it on this website and something went, you've got to have that old password to get back in there so you can go through these steps to generate again. So always copy your current passwords into your notes for safety, and I'll show you that. Then you'll go to your password manager and generate a new secure password, copy it, and paste it into the box that you'll see. And then, of course, Bitwarden's going to say, hey, do you want me to update this entry with the new username and or password? And you'll say yes, and you're good to go. So here's the procedure I show for you for that Shutterfly account that I showed you we had. After I logged in, I went to find it, and sure enough, there's a place for account settings. Went to that one, and sure enough, there was an option to change the password. So I click on that, and here's what you get. Type in the old password, put in your new password. Well, this is where you're going to get the new password from Bitwarden. And so you're going to go over to Bitwarden, where we just were with that password generator, generate that new password, and then come back here. So here I've asked, first step, I'm going to copy that current password and paste it in my notes. Now, of course, my old password wasn't in case you need it, because you don't need to see my old password. But that tells you that you're going to save it in case you need it, because it has happened. Computers freeze up, internet freezes up, and you don't want to be in the middle of a change and then, oh, what was that password? Because that's why you have a password manager. So copy it and paste it here in case you need it. Then you're going to go and click that little button and say, I want a secure password. And it's based on what you set. You can see right here, this says it's going to be 15 characters. And then you can click that and then click the eyeball so you can see what it created. And then you can say, oh, I like that one, or nope, I don't like that one. Generate me another one. So you can just keep hitting that circle and generate till you see a password you like. Then you're going to copy it, go back to that page where we had it, paste the password into those two. And of course, I don't have my old password there. And this one's not going to work because I never completed it. And you hit save. And that would save this new strong password to that website that had a very bad one. And at the same time, Bitwarden says, okay, now do you want me to update? And you'll say, sure. Now, what I tell people to do is, if you're going to be filling these out and changing things, don't try to take on the whole task at one time. I recommend you start with the most data-sensitive sites, the banks, medical, government, your personal. Get those websites with strong passwords. Then move to your next most used sites that don't have strong passwords. And over time, you'll get the rest and you'll get it all done. But that's a process that we recommend, that you replace those old, worn out, not so secure with good passwords. And that's the step. Now, I mentioned that Bitwarden or any of the other password managers might not be able to control. I forgot to show you that on that website, when we were changing the Shuttlefly, it said that you had to have at least, I think maybe it was 12 characters. I don't remember now. You have to maybe match up what they require with what your password generator generates, because some websites will not allow symbols. So you'd have to go into Password Manager or to Bitwarden and say, don't use special characters. You might need to change the size. Maybe you like a 20-character password, but your website says between 8 and 12. So you'll have to change in Bitwarden and bring it back to 12 to meet their requirements. So we recommend that you do it, and over time you'll get it. Now, I'm going to leave and end with the fact of the pricing levels. I told you in the beginning it's free. Bitwarden is free. All of those features that I have been talking about comes with the free, $0 a year. They have a premium that's only $10 a year, which is 83 cents a month. I don't know why I haven't done that. I've been talking about doing it for a number of years, but we're talking 83 cents a month, and I will show you what you get extra if it interests you for 83 cents a month. Now, the big deal is, because trying to make sure families are being safe, you can get a family plan for $40 a year, and that's up to 6 premium users. So I did the math for you. That means if you had 6 people in your family organization, they would each have to pay $6.67 a year, which is less than the $10 a year premium. So you'd have to have at least 3 people to make it worthwhile, because 2 people would be $2, would be $20 a year, but you want more than that. Now, what do you get? You get some storage for encrypted files. It might be a big thing for you because you get additional 2-step logins using what we've talked about before. So, go back and review our presentations. The YubiKey, the FIDO, the UTF, and Duo, we've all mentioned those words. Those come with the premium. Probably the one thing that's worth 83 cents a month is the emergency access that you will be able to set up in case of death. Judy has talked, and other people in our presentations, about your afterlife, getting into your accounts. The pro version of Bitwarden gives you emergency access. It also keeps track of how healthy your stuff is for your passwords and usernames. And you get that TOTP verification generator that was talked about in previous workshops. And of course, paid people get priority customer service. And all that's for 10 bucks. And if you want more, now I'm not really a salesman for them, I'm just pointing out, if you want more storage space, they only charge $4 a gig for storing your encrypted stuff. So that's the pro version. Everything that I've talked about, everything that I've shown is in the free. So we're now going to open up for questions. And I'm going to throw in a question right away first to ask you, why aren't you going to get Bitwarden and start using it after what you've heard here? If we need to go to the website, I've got the website up, but we'll go back out of here and stop the sharing and go back to Judy. She's busy doing all of her transcribing and stuff. She gets her big screens because she's copying from the chat book and printing it out to read the questions and answering chats. I should say, Judy, tell me that you're there so we know you're there. You'll be there in a minute. Hello, Judy. Somebody said maybe she's signing up. One question that was popped to me, with the exporting, you would export depending on what your current password managing program exports in and what Bitwarden. Like I said, there's a list of like 50 password managers that I didn't know, and then many of the password managers have multiple different kinds of file types that they can export. So that's when you need to go to their page and see, okay, what do you need? Another question that came to me, can I use Bitwarden with 2 cell phones or 2 cell phone numbers? Absolutely. I have Bitwarden on the computer you're seeing. I have Bitwarden on the laptop that I'm using to record. I have Bitwarden on my desktop one over there. It's on my phone. So yeah. And that's what I liked about the Bitwarden. There was one password manager that would say you can have 2. And that meant like 1 desktop, 1 laptop, or 1 phone and 1 other. So no. And the other question, that desktop is Linux. This desktop is Windows and Linux. That's Windows. That laptop is Linux. That's Android. So all cross platforms. Check here. Yeah, somebody said to consider it, and I'm going, it's free. Why not? If you don't like it, get rid of it. And I will admit at firsthand that I use 2 password managers. I'm a person who is also a Proton ecosystem user. And so I use Proton Pass and I use Bitwarden. And for the reason that we tell you every March, we talk about backup. I have passwords backed up into 2 different password managers that I can go into. I think we lost Judy. Trying to read through. Question was, did my notes from LastPass export to Bitwarden? I can't say that because I didn't use LastPass long enough to create that. But I would assume yes, because it's the whole file that's passing through. I like this. It's so easy to export out. Can the bad guys do it? Well, no, because they've got to get into your account first. So if you've got a secure account to get in, they can't get in there. Yep, if you export your Bitwarden files to a spreadsheet, you've got them that way. If you have your password manager running, like Bitwarden, and you go to a new site and you know your username and password, once you do it, like I said in the thing, it'll pop up and say, do you want me to save it? So it'll save it and it'll build up your thing one by one, or you can go in, like I said, enter it yourself. Yep, you can print them out by. At least I did it with Proton Pass. It exported to that. I'd have to go back in and see the export on that. Okay. Two-factor authentication. Yep, that's in there. And if you get the paid version, you get to go to that TOTY or whatever was talked about before. But yeah, you can set it up for the two-factor. If you have somebody says, what about a financial site that wants a new password every 3 months? Well, then you're going to have to change your password every 3 months. That's not your control. It's who you signed in with. So that makes it easy. You just go in there and hit the generate a new password, put that one in, and on you go for 3 more months. I'm looking. There could be a computer problem at Judy's end. Yeah, Dale, that's that thing that was talked about before. It's an authenticator. It's a way of proving who you are. I haven't got in to use it. I don't understand it enough. But if you get the paid version, then you have access to that. But it was on another one of our presentations before. Okay, I'm going to, we'll wait on Judy coming in, but I'm going to go ahead and start with what we've got here. Pierre.
Yes, thank you, John. Thank you for your excellent presentation. And I know it was excellent because I've been a user of Bitwarden myself for a year and a half plus.
Thank you.
So, but I have a few comments and questions that I've collected throughout your presentation. So early on in your presentations, you mentioned advanced two-step login. I'm assuming this is different from 2FA. Is that correct?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, so it is the same as 2FA?
Yeah, because it comes with 2FA, and then if you pay the paid version, you get the TOTP or the TOYP, whatever that extra stuff was.
Okay, perfect. One thing you did not mention, and that I have to admit would be for quote unquote advanced users, is that you can have Bitwarden self-hosted, meaning that if you're still worried about putting all that password stuff in the cloud, you can host it yourself on a computer or a NAS box, which is what I'm doing. But I just wanted to mention that for people who may be interested in doing the self-hosting thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, from the end user's point of view, in the browser, on your computer, on your phone, whatever, it works exactly the same. But it's all coming from your own server, not Bitwarden's servers.
And we'd have to say that the disadvantage is if you were somewhere outside of your house and you needed to get into a password, it might be trouble in getting into your home one as opposed to the web.
Yes, of course, but two things. One, I have a VPN that allows me to get back to any computer in my house. And two, my NAS is accessible through special ports. The Bitwarden version, which is called VaultWarden, is accessible from the outside, regardless of the VPN.
Mm-hmm.
So that solves that problem. Okay, the use of folders, I make extensive use of folders because I have hundreds of passwords. So it would be a gigantic list if I weren't using folders, and it would be unmanageable. So
absolutely, and I used them too, but I just pointed out that Judy's one that doesn't.
Yeah,
everything.
No, I mean, to each his own. I
right.
Totally agree. Yeah. Totally agree. One question now. Separate vaults, or is it the same as separate organizations, or is that a different concept?
To my knowledge, it is, in that if you are a member, let's say, not too far from me is the Columbus Computer Society. If they were using Bitwarden and had, oh yeah, there's John right there, and had passwords for their club members to get into their stuff, they can share that vault with me, and then I would have two vaults. I would have my vault with everything and their vault for their stuff. Same thing, I think, is I could set up an APCUG with logins that we use that could be added to Bitwarden with a second one or a separate one from mine.
I understand your use case here. So it is the same as organizations, or it isn't?
It as far as I know, it is. I don't use it, but it talks about.
I tend to use it for the exact same purpose, being the president of a group and having my own personal passwords, obviously. So yes, but there is also the sharing between users, which is yet a different concept.
Right, and it says with the free version, you can share your file with one other user. But with the family one, then you get into being able to share a few more.
Again, I'm using the self-hosted, and I have the feeling that I don't have those restrictions, but I'm not 100% sure yet. But I'll find out. You said at some point you come back here and you click on password, and basically you have to do copy paste, copy paste. In my experience, that means bringing up the little extension yet again, because every time you click anywhere in the browser outside of the Bitwarden pop-up, the Bitwarden pop-up disappears. Or is there an option to make it stay?
The drop-down box doesn't stay, but there is now an icon that's in the field where you want to put your password, and you can click on it, and it brings up your choice of what you want to fill in. That was something that's kind of a newer addition, because before you'd have to go up to the icon at the top, click it again, and then click on to fill. But the only time that happens is when you have a website that won't let you fill in the username and password at the same time, like Google.
Like Gmail, yes.
Yeah.
That was my next point.
Right.
But
now,
I know
to say that Proton Pass has always been that way, and now Bitwarden has added that feature. So like the icon or the slide that I showed, it shows up right in the field, and you can just click on it and get what you want.
It works if you don't have too many Gmail accounts.
Well, I'll have a list. You know, I've got 14.
Okay, I got 50 plus because of the club.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that one thing I wanted to point out, but I know you're a Linux user, so that probably does not apply. Rather than doing copy, paste, I do copy, copy, paste, paste. But that requires the clipboard history feature be turned on in Windows.
Yeah.
So just wanted to mention that.
Yeah. That's why I use the extension, because I don't have to do copy
Right,
paste.
yeah. And one last comment. You can also export an encrypted file with your passwords, and that would be sort of a backup.
Yes. Yes.
And it's in JSON format, if I'm not mistaken. But
I
the
believe
point
you're
is
right.
that it is encrypted with the same master password, obviously, and it would be a backup of your entire vault, which is not a bad thing to have every now and then.
And I would say you take that file that's encrypted and go put it in your P cloud and have it copy up in the cloud too. That's encrypted.
Very good.
Thanks.
Anyway, excellent presentation. Thank you again.
Thanks. Over to Saul.
Thanks, John. Great presentation. I have a question on the fields within an entry in Bitwarden.
Yeah.
You showed us the ones that we saw, and there was a notes field, but can you create your own additional fields in an entry?
Let me just jump over while I can. And I'm thinking, I've got to log into, give me a second here. I got to do my long password to get in. There we go. I'm in. Let's see. New item, secure note. I can in secure notes, I can make a customized text field. I can do a hidden notes. So I think are you asking how many different kind of notes you can have?
I'm not asking for different types. I'm asking, let's say you have a login or a card entry, and it has the standard stuff that you've shown us, and it has a notes field, maybe like in a login one, it would have a notes field. But could you create additional ones like a plus and add additional fields of your own?
I'm looking at right now.
I don't believe you can.
Yeah. I think what they've said is that's all that most people ask. You wouldn't need another field.
Okay, thank you. I was just asking because of importing from an existing password manager that has additional fields. I don't know if those get all wiped away or not imported.
Interesting. Why don't you do this? Download Bitwarden and transfer over and let us know.
I'll consider that. Thank you.
Thanks, all. Leah. There you are.
I didn't mean to put my hand up. I think I hit the wrong button somewhere.
Okay. Well, give me a high five there then.
Yeah.
Kathleen.
Thank you. You asked the first question you asked was, why haven't I essentially downloaded Bitwarden and started using it? The problem is my husband is horrendous at passwords and remembering phrases and so on. So I just thought of something a little while ago, and that is because I do cross stitch or used to. What I did was I can put a phrase related to some experience that we've had. He doesn't have to remember what it was, and I can make a passphrase, stick it in needlepoint or cross stitch rather, which is faster, stick it on the wall. So that would work. And nobody in the family would just say, oh yeah, they have, you know, Kathleen made a cute thing about fill in the blank trip.
That's clever. Hidden
In plain sight.
hidden secrets.
And it can be kind of meaningless to other people. And I'll have to play around with how I can switch the words around. So
Yeah, and as I said earlier, you know, everybody manages their passwords.
Mhm.
And the question was, is it the best way? Not the right way, the best way. And that's a good way because you don't need it when you leave and go away from your house. You don't want to have to take all that cross-stitching with you. But for what your needs and somebody coming into your house that wasn't family would still have no clue as to what that's going on.
And he will actually learn it when he has to put it in multiple times. Or
Yeah.
And I will remember it, which is when we're stressed is a problem.
Very, very good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Joel.
Good afternoon. I'm coming through. You may have answered it at the end. My concern is I want to share my vault with my wife. When I log in from a mobile, it's on my cell phone with a cell phone number. When she tries to log in from her cell phone, it's a different cell phone number. Do I need family in order to allow two different cell phone numbers to be attached to the same vault? Or can that be done in the free version?
I'm trying to think why you have to have a phone number because
It's the first thing you told us to start up a Bitwarden account is enter your cell phone number.
no. You just enter an email account.
Okay, well, she has a different email account than I do.
Right, because each email account has a different one. So you should be able to go in because it says you can share with one other person. So go into your settings and look for sharing your directory because it says you can do it with one other person. And the
I mean,
paid
at
version gives you
home,
the one.
at home, we've got a keyboard. We can enter whatever we need. She knows my passwords. I know her passwords.
Right.
For this purpose, it's when we're out of the house and trying to get the bank password from my cell phone, and she will obviously have a different cell phone and a different cell phone number. We want to be able to make sure she can get to the vault as I can get to the vault.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure because I use it by email address. So all you have to do is on my phone app, I just log in with my email address and my password.
And if your wife wants to, when she's out of the house, she uses for a moment your email address to get to the Bitwarden vault.
Yeah, because it's my account.
She can, as long as she knows your account email and your master password, she can get to it when she's out shopping and checking a credit card number.
That's what I would assume. So she doesn't do it, but that's what I would assume. Yes. Because on all my devices, I use my login. And like right now, I can be logged into two different Bitwarden accounts. I can be logged in. The one I used today was my demo one that's with APCUG, but I can add my personal one, and then I just go back and forth between the two.
I will have to read the Bitwarden instruction manual.
Go up to the top, go up to the top corner, and it will say add an account. Click on that and log in. And then as long as you don't log out, you can go back and forth between those two accounts.
I think I want one account in one vault for two people to access it.
Yeah.
If I may interject.
Sure,
please.
Yes, you can use your phone number. All your wife has to do is use your phone number to access your Bitwarden account with your master password, and you're all done.
Thank you for your input. We will try to learn.
No problem.
Thank you.
That's great. Dale.
Yes, once in a while when I'm on the computer and I don't know if it's I don't get a password right or whatever, but this app pops up and it's got all my passwords listed and it has even the history, like, well, you used this one back in 2019 and now you're at this one when you changed it. Do you know what that is? Is that from Windows?
That could be Windows or it could be your browser. Now, you can go into a setting in, for example, Bitwarden and say, make that my default password manager. I always go into any browser, go to the settings, go to where it says, do you want me to remember passwords? And I uncheck that so that my browser is not remembering passwords.
So this might be from what, like Firefox?
Firefox or Edge or Chrome. Yeah, whichever browser you'd use, they want to remember your passwords for you. But the problem with using that is I use a couple of different browsers. So if I put my passwords in my browsers, if I change one over here, it doesn't automatically change over there. So I've got to go back there and change. So I use my password manager as my only password remembering thing.
Well, is there a chance of someone getting into that, what I just described, and getting a hold of my password?
I would say yes.
So how do I eliminate it?
Go into your settings of your browser, and when it goes down and you find where it says, do you want me to save passwords, there will be a list, a button that says, show the passwords. Delete them all.
Okay.
It'll have a list of saved passwords. Delete them all.
Okay.
And then tell them, don't remember my passwords again.
Oh, and you said that it was the regular Bitwarden that you could somehow give a password somehow to someone in case you pass away and they can access?
You can always give your password to somebody now, but the paid version allows you to set up something so that should you die, there is a way that somebody then can get to your account because they've got the permission. That way you don't give out your password to begin with, but you give out a permission for somebody, because what I think happens is that if somebody tries to get into your Bitwarden before you die, it'll pop up and say, do you want to allow? And if you say no, then they don't get in. If you don't say no, the presumption is the person is no longer able to do it. And it's the same thing if somebody got into a coma or something, somebody couldn't get into your password. If you had somebody who could, they may have to wait a day. Maybe there's a timer set, I'm not sure, that says, okay, it's been 24 hours and nobody has said you can't get in. Okay, now you can get in.
Oh. But if you can allow one other person, would it be good to put your the person who takes care of your living trust on that?
We have said in our workshops, you need to have somebody who is the power of attorney. You need, or an executor. I'm sorry, executor for your will. You need to have a digital executor, somebody who's going to be in charge of taking care of all of your internet digital life to clear it up. And we've mentioned that, Judy's mentioned that in her workshops or presentation, that you need to designate somebody who's knowledgeable in technology and computer stuff to go in and take care of your YouTube account, your Facebook, your X, everything that you have that only somebody with the access can take care of. Otherwise, people will still be sending you birthday wishes through Facebook 20 years after you're dead.
Okay. So, so it would be who's ever in charge of my living trust. And
I would think if they're a person who knows computers, give them, access to your password manager password in the event of death, just like somebody would get the key to the lockbox if you die type thing.
Okay,
And
all right.
in the paid version, which is only like what I say, 83 cents a month,
Yeah.
that feature comes with it. So it's kind of worth it right there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Sandy.
Yes. How does the Bitwarden work with passkeys, or is there a way that passkeys do work with Bitwarden?
Since I'm not into the passkey stuff yet, I'm passwords and passphrases. I can't do that. I don't know if Pierre has done anything with passkeys with Bitwarden, but I'm still sticking with passwords and passphrases.
I haven't ventured into passkeys yet, although I've been willing to do that for quite a few months now. I know for a fact that Bitwarden can store passkeys. So the answer to your question, Sandy, is yes.
Thank you.
I think the problem I've had from listening to our presentations is not everybody is on board with the passkeys at that other end that you're going to. So, now you have to do passwords and passphrases and passkeys.
Gmail is definitely on board, but there are other providers as well.
Right. Thank you, Sandy. My good buddy, John.
John, does Bitwarden automatically log itself out after a time period?
Good question. It's your choice. If you go into your settings, you can have it do a number of things in terms of a timer. Mine times out at the max of 10 minutes, or if I close out the browser. But you can go in and do that just like you can with your computer and you're logging in. But we didn't go to that part of the settings. We're running out of time. But yes, you could go in there and determine how long before it self logs out or shuts out. Then you have to just log our password back in to get in.
Okay. And one other thing, when you're doing all these copy pastes in Windows and in Linux, how do you clear the memory of those copy pastes?
I can't answer that because I don't do copy paste. I do my easy with the.
I can answer that, John.
Sure can, Pierre. Please.
Yes. On Windows, if you're not using the clipboard history, then there's only one thing that's in the buffer, and all you have to do is copy something else, and that clears the old stuff. If you are using the clipboard history, you can, when you bring up the clipboard list, you can selectively delete entries that you don't want kept in memory.
Okay.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Bill. He done mute. Still muted. There you go.
There you go. You talked about this, but let me confirm it.
Sure.
Suppose somebody else has your email or your phone, and they try and get into your account, and they're not authorized. What happens?
First off, you should have a master password that they can't figure out. And then there won't be in. If somebody does sign in, I get an email. As I was preparing for this workshop between my account and taking screenshots and logging in, I kept getting notices that somebody had attempted to get in or got in through email that I could quickly go in and do something to change a password or whatever. But I don't know. They can't, unless they have your master password, all that stuff is encrypted. So if they would even somehow get, it'd just be gobbledygook.
I see. Okay, so if it's your authorized user, my daughter in this case, and she has my password, then she can go in and do see all the stuff. But
Correct.
if they don't have the password, they're locked out.
Right. And if you go to the two-factor, that means that, double layer of getting in. But
Oh, even better, right? That
Yeah.
they send a message to the phone.
the important thing is that your daughter doesn't let that master password out somehow.
Right. Yeah. No, she's very careful. And what if you're using Bitwarden and for some reason you no longer like it and you want to cancel the whole thing and go back to your notebook?
You delete your Bitwarden account.
And how do you do that?
I think it's in the settings where you just go and say, I want to delete it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
But
how
I would say don't do that because of the reason I'm using Bitwarden and Proton Pass is that I have a backup.
yes, good idea.
Yeah.
And how secure is Bitwarden? I mean, it must be the prime target for hackers, any of the password managers that, if they get in there, they've got everybody.
It's all encrypted. If they get in, once it leaves our computers and goes up, it's all encrypted. They would not get anything. And, my feeling is both Bitwarden and Proton Pass have end-to-end encryption, and they can. If Bill, if you or your daughter loses your password, you cannot get in because they don't have it. You are the only person for both Proton, Bitwarden that has that password. And there is absolutely no way that they can reactivate your account. You've lost everything. It's that secure.
Okay, that's scary but encouraging.
Yeah. That's why I said do not lose. I almost forgot the password for my demo program. I'm going, so I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to LastPass, put in the password, the master password for my dummy account so that if I ever forget it, I can go to LastPass to Proton Pass and get that one because it's written down. And I said, because you can't put it in Bitwarden. You can't put that password in Bitwarden because you got to get into Bitwarden and get the password.
So you could not go outside of Bitwarden, go directly to the website and use your old password because that would be no longer valid. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
If you've changed it, yeah. But you're not going to change your password. That master password is going to be good enough that you don't have to worry about ever needing to change that.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean the master password. Let's say to your email account or something like that, you had your old password. That's no longer valid.
If you've changed it.
If you've changed it to Bitwarden.
Well, no.
No.
You're just storing that password in Bitwarden.
Okay. So
that's why I said that if you're going to change to a very secure one, first copy the old password into your notes. So if something happened as you were trying to change it, you still have the old password to get into your Gmail, and then you can put the new password in.
And when you're saying your copy to your notes, it's like Microsoft Word or anything like that.
No, it's in Bitwarden. There's a section at the bottom that has notes.
I see.
And that's where you would copy your password and just say old password so that if ever something didn't work right, you could at least find your old password and try it and see if it would work. It shouldn't because you got a new password in there.
I see. So that's a note field within Bitwarden.
Yes.
But what about your old-fashioned just plain notebook where you've kept your old password?
Well, it's falling apart on me right now. The pages are starting to come out. And if I lose that page, oops. And if that notebook walked off somehow by somebody, I'd be up a creek, but I'm not because I've got everything backed up into 2 password managers.
You're a good salesman for password managers.
I hope so.
Thanks for the help.
Thanks, that. Jerry.
Yes, I have a question. Under LastPass, I had a problem with, say, a Fidelity account because I have several accounts that I monitor for my family. And for a while, I was having trouble getting, a separate, they all have separate passwords. So is that a problem with the Bitwarden?
I wouldn't think so, because you can put whatever password you want into Bitwarden. You could use the same password for everything in Bitwarden. Now, Bitwarden wouldn't be happy with that because it's very insecure. But, my wife and I both have accounts for Social Security, and both have accounts for the credit bureaus. We both have accounts, but we both have separate passwords, because the password manager will remember which one's which.
So then they will give you a choice of which one of the passwords to use for that Fidelity login.
That might be up to Fidelity, but not your password manager.
Okay.
I think, John, if I may
Sure.
jump in again, I think what Jerry is asking is whether you can have multiple entries for the same website, and the answer is an absolute yes.
Yeah. All I did, Jerry, was remember when I went to that field where it says name. So, for example, I have Aetna for my Medicare Advantage. I have Aetna-JK for me. I have Aetna-BJ for my wife. It's the same website, but we have separate passwords. So that way I know which one I'm clicking. The name is what's important, because it's the same with the Gmail. Pierre said he's got more Gmail accounts than I, but he needs to name them so that he knows which is which.
Right.
But it's all the same website. It doesn't matter whether I'm logging into APCUG or Zoom. They're all using Gmail. So I just need to know for sure which one matches the right password I want.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Great. And Dale again.
I have Proton Mail. I have the paid version, but
Good.
they gave me a way to, if you forget your password, it's a special.
Right.
Yeah, so I signed up for that. So I mean, is that mean that if I lose my password, or I can still get into my account with that special?
Did you save that special access?
Yes.
Okay, so you've got that.
I mean, I have it written down. I don't have it saved on my computer.
Well, save it into a file into your other password. But yeah, they do have. It's that big long thing that you can, as a safety net, get back in. Otherwise, you're in trouble, because even with Proton, they have no record of your password, just like Bitwarden. So you need that. But Bitwarden, you don't have a back door like that.
Yeah, no, it's some kind of recovery.
Yes, yeah, that's special with Proton, because I think because of the fact it's a full, you've got all the mail, calendar, VPN, drive, password, wallet, and soon to be notes. So they're like 7 different things. So you really can't afford to not be able to get in. So yeah, we would tell in a presentation for Proton, we would say, make sure that you save your recovery.
Yeah, and I was wondering, have we ever done anything on VPNs? I mean, it might be simple, but it sort of scares me, and I haven't used my VPN.
We've tried to, but we want to get people to do it. We have done it. There's a couple of videos on it, and there's nothing scary about it. All you do is turn it on. It does the work in the background. You just have to know that there are some websites that might not work right. Or you have the problem that if you are on a VPN that connects overseas and you're going to a website, it might all be in a foreign language. It might all be in a foreign pricing. because they think you're in the foreign land.
Oh, okay.
And once in a while, there are some banks that if you, like if I'm an Ohio person, and if I was logging in from Judy's, California, it might balk at that because they're thinking I'm somebody trying to hack in from California. So sometimes there are websites that you have to make note, can't use a VPN when I'm doing this. But otherwise, there's nothing scary about it. You don't do anything. You just turn it on and your internet travels somewhere and reappears out here, and then you do your internet. Nobody knows where you're from. Nobody can read that.
Some accounts won't let you use the VPN to get access. Like
That's possible because they want to know.
You just go in, turn it off.
Yeah.
And then
right now, I could go into my settings because I got my Proton Pass or my Proton VPN. I could go in and just turn it on, turn it off, just like your microphone. I can turn it on, turn it off.
Okay. All right.
Judy's got her hand up.
One of my members cannot get into one of his financial institutions if he is using a VPN.
Yeah, you just have to trial by error. When something doesn't work right, then you say, oh, I even found out on one of my, on my Linux, when I was doing an update, a couple of the places it goes out to update things wouldn't work. Turned off the VPN, ran the update again. It's fine. It's just that they were concerned because it was coming from a different source than I really was.
And one evening I was wanting to get into my Discover card and I couldn't. And so I called them, and as far as they were concerned, I wasn't sitting at my desk in California. I was someplace else because I was using a VPN.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask if somebody wanted to do a presentation about something, do they have to belong to APCUG or one of their members groups?
No.
Okay. So if I submit, who do I submit that information to?
My buddy, my best person, Judy.
Oh, okay. All right.
If it's a Linux thing, you do it to me, but everything else goes to her. But yeah, number of the national presenters that we had weren't members of APCG or a member group.
Okay.
So no, we invite anybody to present. It's just that the presentations are for members of member clubs as a benefit.
All right. Thank you.
Do you have my email address?
jtalur@apcug.org.
Is that the one that you send us the links?
Yes.
Okay.
Should be glad to get somebody scheduled. Anything else for me, Judy?
Oh, John, I have lots of questions here, but I was out and about and I missed what you were talking about. I had a little flurry here where I am living now. So I can go through these really quickly and you can say I already answered that because the person mentioned it, but I got 4 pages of questions here.
Oh my goodness.
And of course, I've told you moving to a new location is, I haven't moved in 47 years. And let me tell you, it's very interesting and trying to get your computer stuff to work correctly too.
Yeah.
Can I use Bitwarden on 2 cell phones?
Yep, we talked that.
Can I use Bitwarden on, yeah, that was for me and my wife. And they have 3 Windows PCs.
No problem.
The vault of passwords is stored at Bitwarden. Can it be stored on a Dropbox, someplace else like that?
Right. And we were talking about that because Pierre said you can export Bitwarden and then it's an encrypted version and then save it in your Dropbox or your pCloud or whichever. So, yep.
No, you wouldn't be able to use it in Dropbox. It would be just a backup.
No, yeah, you're right. No, I'm just saying you store it up there for a secured, backed up, encrypted file. Yeah, you have to bring it back to you.
Okay, so then this goes along with that. If you've got your password saved in your browser or Apple Keychain and then save them in Bitwarden, is there going to be a conflict when supplying credentials?
Which one you choose to use.
Now, when Bob G always says you need at least 2 password managers just in case something happens to one of them.
Right, and that's, I mentioned to them that I've got Bitwarden as my backup to Proton Pass, and Proton Pass backing up Bitwarden.
Okay, let me see. Can you change the list of special characters, or do you have to edit the generated password to remove special characters that are not acceptable?
Edit, because there's just a checkbox for special characters. So yeah, I had to do that one time with the password I was doing because it wasn't allowed.
Okay.
So, yeah, easy enough.
There's a password remembering place that pops up in Windows with a history of passwords used. What is this, and is it secure?
We talked about that's the browser password, and it's not. So she's going to go in and go to her settings, go to the saved password. She's going to delete them all and then tell the browser to stop remembering passwords.
Okay, that was going to be my follow-up there. Don't we usually say don't use the password manager, so to speak, that is affiliated with a particular browser because they're not safe?
That's correct.
Okay. I think on the website version on the generator page, there's a clock icon. Is that the estimated time to break the new password?
Now, I think the clock was how many characters that you're using in your password.
Excellent presentation, as was the other one. Can you only use TOTP2FA as opposed to Google Authenticator that she used with LastPass?
That goes to the people who understand TOTP. To me, TP is toilet paper, but
yeah, it makes no sense. I don't understand the question.
Yeah, that's for multiple layers of security, and I haven't gotten to. We were talking earlier, Pierre and I, that we haven't gotten into pass keys really. We're still passwords and passphrases. So
however, I am using on a particular website. I am using the Google Authenticator, so the password is coming from Bitwarden, and then I am prompted to enter a 6-digit code that comes from the Google Authenticator on my phone. I don't know if that answers the questions that Judy was reading.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either on that question, but yeah, you can get yourself into multiple layers of security if you want to.
Okay, I use RoboForm's password manager. It has the same features that Bitwarden has, including the little icon in the password field that brings up the password filing dialog. And I've always wanted to have somebody do a presentation on RoboForm. So hopefully the person that put that in the chat box might give us a presentation on that, because I know there are lots of people out there that use it.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Yeah, Murray.
I've tried using the free version of the VPN from Proton Mail, but
Yeah.
the problem I find is that it is extremely difficult, if not impossible, to get a North American server. It wants to go to Holland or somewhere, and then Tokyo or India or someplace. And I find that there's far too many websites that don't work unless I have a North American server, and of course the banks don't work unless I'm actually have a server in my hometown.
Yeah, I've got to check, because the password, if you've got it set to get to the best available, it's going to go anywhere in the 3. You've got 3 locations that you can do with the free: United States, Japan, and somewhere in Europe, because that's the 3 locations. But
I usually can't get the United States. There's hundreds of them in the United States. I keep trying.
There's not hundreds for you. But if you go into the list of United States, they should give you the ones that you should be able to click on unless they're full.
Yeah,
Now,
they're almost always full whenever I try it.
right. And that's the problem with the free, any of those free ones, you aren't the best. But with a free, you're in Canada, and so in the daytime when you want to use it, all the servers are free over in the Pacific.
Which doesn't help me, because then they won't. My bank won't let me use. Won't let me enter. A lot of other ones won't.
Yeah, but you said the bank won't let you use the United States one either.
It might let me use one in Washington State, but it certainly won't let me use the ones in Japan or Holland.
Right.
And they're even most of the sites that I use a lot won't let me in from Europe or Japan.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. This is what the free offers, and if you want more, then you can purchase just the paid.
Do you have the paid Proton Pass or the free one?
I'm a Proton ecosystem. I have everything.
Okay. So you have the paid version.
Yeah, but you can buy just separately the Proton VPN Pro Pack, just the VPN, without buying everything else Proton.
Yeah.
Even though John says he's free John, this is one of the programs that he thinks highly enough of it that he'll pay for it. I have 3 like that I wouldn't do without, and so I pay for those. Dale, you're on.
I had in the chat box, I wanted to know what TOTP stands for. And is it like a two-factor, or what is it?
Nope, it's something else. It's the newest thing that's out there that I don't understand. And we had somebody trying to explain it in one of the presentations. I'll have to go back and watch it a couple times.
It's time-based.
Oh, that's it.
Password.
Yeah. You know, it's like when I get something from the bank, they'll send me a code to my phone that's only good for like 15 seconds almost. And so you got to put it in right away. So it's another layer of the second, two-factor, but it's a timed one that doesn't go away or goes away. But that for LastPass, Proton, Bitwarden, it's in the paid one. But again, paid one is only 83 cents a month. I'm a cheapskate, for some people would say.
But
so
it's probably no matter what.
Yeah.
John Pierce.
I was going to reply to Murray. I don't know if being in the U.S. makes a great deal of difference with Canada. A lot of the things you commented on, I experienced roughly 6 months ago. And I have discovered that they've added more countries, and the ability to get to a US-based server is a whole lot easier than it used to be. I generally get a US-based server on the first try. If not, just ask to change servers, and I will probably get a US-based server the next time around. And I am using the free VPN. I use it maybe once or twice a month for a particular
John, you're saying that you're using the free version of Proton VPN, to clarify?
Yes,
right.
I'm using the free one.
Okay, yeah, so I would agree with that. If it gets you one you don't like it, just hit the button and say disconnect, connect again. The other thing for you, Murray, would be to check another VPN that might have more servers in Canada. I have a friend who goes to Canada every summer, and she has the hassle of dealing with the cell phones. Because yes, you can make a lot of calls from the United States to Canada, but she wants to make phone calls from Canada back to the US, and she has to get a special phone or something So You might check and see. There might be a different VPN that might have more servers that you can use in Canada for free than what VPN. But I liked what John said. Give it a try. Click, click, click. Say, no, don't want that one. Don't want that one.
Yeah.
Kathleen? Kathleen?
No. Please unmute your there.
Sorry, I just heard the cast part and I wasn't sure. Okay, question. I pay things on 2 sites that are credit card sites, or one's a utility, one's a credit card, where I use guest status to pay instead of having a password. One of them asks for the last 4 digits of my social security, and that's password.
Ooh.
A credit card. It's a fairly large site. So when I use the guest option. So what do you think of the guest option ones? I've been doing that because you only use it one time, and every time you go in, I thought it was setting up a separate sequence, but anyway, that's my question.
They had to wear hand-me-down men's uniforms.
My problem would be that I'd be concerned about them wanting part of my social security number as a guest.
I logged into something last evening, and I couldn't remember what my password was, and they wanted my entire social security number. And it's amazing how fast you can react to something like that, to back out and get the heck out of Dodge when they asked for that. And I thought, really? And I'm thinking, how many people go ahead and put their entire social security card number in there instead of like the last 4 digits, but no, they weren't interested in the last 4 digits. They wanted everything.
I had that happen. I went to a new eye doctor, and after the exam, everything's done, ordered the glasses. They wanted the last 4 digits, the entire social security number for the insurance company they were using. And I was kind of stuck. So I went ahead and gave it to them, because otherwise, I didn't know what to do. I was writing a check for it on the spot, but they still wanted, to get the insurance part, I needed to do that. And I went back and asked them about it afterwards. And anyway, that was the only time I went in there.
Wow.
It's the only time I've ever had that happen, but that's just kind of a warning is, you'd never expect that they would do that.
Steve Parker.
Yeah, the TOTP stands for time-based one-time password. So what that means is they send you a code, you've got like 30 seconds to type it in, and then after that, if you haven't typed it in, it changes it to another code.
And it pops up and says, I'm sorry, that's the wrong code.
So really, we should think of it as TOTP, not TOTP.
So usually it is a 2FA.
Yeah, every time I go into my credit union, it says you want us to identify this device. And I say no, because I want the 2FA to work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting right here, and this is the only place I access my bank account, but I don't care. I want that double check just for me to feel very safe about going into where my money is. Pierre.
Final one, Pierre.
Yes, TOTP basically works the same way as the Google Authenticator app. So it's an additional layer of security. The fact that it's time-based for about 30 seconds or so, it's the same thing. But my other comment was for Kathleen about her eye doctor asking for a social security number. I don't know if it's true nationwide, but I believe that in New York State, at least, it's illegal to ask for your social security number. That's why you have an insurance member number.
Right.
To relieve the insurance companies from asking for a social security number.
It was actually a Regent's eye doctor, and I don't know where their insurance company that pays the benefit was. Apparently, I don't know exactly how that worked out.
If it ever happens to you again, stand your ground and do not give your social security number in any medical institution whatsoever.
Yeah.
That exact same thing happened to me, and it's interesting that it was at the eye doctor, and it was a new one, and I stood there right in front of the little reception desk and said, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to give that to you." And we went back and forth, and finally they said, "Well, okay."
Yeah.
So push back.
Yeah, I should have done that, but that was the last appointment and it was like 7 p.m. by the time they got to me. So it was, yeah. I was passing it on for others is could happen.
Appreciate that. And we'll try to pass that on, remind people, like Randy said, it's really illegal except for job and financial situations.
Cool. I didn't know that. I have a comment. Actually, when asking for 4 digits of a social security number, a source is suggesting that the user use any 4 digits that she can easily remember unless the site already knows the user's social security number and is trying to match up the last 4 digits. Any other comments? Any other questions? Are you tired of sitting?
Yeah.
John's voice is held up. He probably won't speak the rest of the day, though. When the grandkids come over, they're going to go, "Grandpa," and he'll just kind of go,
cough, cough, cough. Now I got to go out and see what kind of weather we're having. I want to thank Al, even though he's not here, but I want to thank him for these past 3 months. So we're also open to somebody who wants to give multiple month presentations. And today I focused on Bitwarden, but as Judy said, she'd love to have a robo thing. So robo forms, yeah, or others, I could do a Proton Pass one, but it's so identical to Bitwarden. I have a hard time going back and forth between or picking between the two. If you have other presentations, we've got lots of topics that we'd like to do. We've, multiple things where word processing, different variation or different brands, VPNs, different brands. We even wanted to talk about virtual machines, different brands. It's that each of us can't be an expert on everything. That's why I'm not going to do anything on RoboForm because I don't know anything about it. I can do Proton and I can do Bitwarden, as you can see. So if you have ideas or if you see somebody like somebody just pointed out they're going to get Judy with somebody who's done a presentation, we're glad to talk to them. And if anybody in your organization has done a presentation, it's already done. There's no work. All they have to do is do it again.
We are not asking you to put something new to even the one that Al gave, those were his presentations to his group last year. So I happened to be, he gave one presentation, volunteered to give it, and I went on his website and went, look at this. He has this presentation, and he said he put it all together in one fell swoop, and it's 3 hours long. And so he broke it up into 1 hour presentations, so to speak. So it's warts and all here. You do not have to be a perfectionist. None of us are. We just do what we do.
And you don't have to know all the answers.
There's always somebody else out there who can help you with an answer.